our podcast, a global conversation hosted by Alex Rezvan Viennet.
Hello Imogen, how you doing? Can you hear me? Everything okay?
Hi, yes I can. Great to hear you.
Brilliant. Imogen, for those who don't know, you are the CEO and founder of Qudini. Why don't we start with the story, because I think it's a really interesting story, and this whole series is about empowerment. I think your story sort of just shows, if you follow the path, you can be very successful in it. So it would be lovely if you could sort of give us an overview of how Qudini started.
Great. Yeah. So I left university and I was kind of interested in setting up a business. So I went along to this hackathon, which was sponsored by O2. So for anyone who doesn't know what a hackathon is, it's an event where you kind of meet up with developers and ideas and designer people over a weekend, and you come up with an idea and kind of code a very basic prototype around the table. And you kind of pitched at the end of the event. So I went to a hackathon and came up with this idea for virtual queuing. So this concept that you can join a queue virtually from your phone and get updates about when it's your turn. So we actually won this hackathon for the most commercially viable idea. And as a result, we about Telefónica's accelerator space that they were building in London. And from that, we got accepted. So we were kind of the youngest team and the earliest stage idea at the time to go through, but we left 9 months later with a contract with O2 and also won their kind of global tender as well. And it all just kind of snowballed from there. We just kept kind of working with more and more enterprise clients in the retail space on how do we improve customers who are coming into their store and want service, to kind of give them updates while they're waiting, creating kind of a host app so they can kind of more professionally greet and manage customers than a lot of them who were using just clipboard and pen at the time. Yeah. And from there, we also then started building appointment booking in, which was something a lot of clients were asking for. So enabling customers to kind of pre-book the time that they visit stores.
If we could just go back to, because one of the things that I'm conscious of, and the whole purpose of doing this is, through different experiences, I'm the great fortune of meeting very early in career people, and obviously a lot of experienced professionals as well. So your mindset about that, I want to, I'd love to get into business or be an entrepreneur and have my own thing. How much of that, I mean, where did it come from? What was the spark for you that made you want to do this? Did you always feel that you could be the CEO and founder? Were you like on the playground, just you knew that you could be the CEO founder? What was the journey? Where did the belief come from?
Oh, I don't know that one actually. I wanted to initially go into advertising, and then I kind of was always one of the ideas people. Yeah. So I wanted to do creative advertising, but then I realized it's really boring. Yeah. So you just sit there all day and think of ideas, and I liked kind of the execution side and strategy side. So I kind of wanted to try coming up with a business because it enabled you to be creative but also execute. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was always thinking of like weird ideas. When I was at university, I was like inventing things that already existed. Where like, oh, wouldn't it be great if something, and you're like, oh, that actually already exists. So maybe it was natural.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any words of wisdom for someone who may be, who has an idea that, they need to act on?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think at like leaving university age, or even instead of university, starting a business is one of the best routes you can go down in terms of if you want to learn skills, come up with ideas and execute things. And at that age, you can't really lose. Like you don't have any like kind of strong responsibilities. So it's actually a really good time to start a business if that's something that you want to do. And I would just say, go for it. And I also think it's something that education providers should really look at, because when you have to figure stuff out for yourself, like for example, I couldn't really use Excel to start out with, and now I'm pretty advanced at it, all just from kind of searching online. It just shows that like the way education makes learning things is really boring, and actually it's really interesting to learn something when you have to practically apply it to your own ideas.
Yeah. And I think most of people in business would say sometimes your success is the success of the people around you, the team, and how you build a team. I do know that you did have a co-founder with you when but how have you got over that hurdle? Because, I don't know, for example, I can imagine people saying, yeah, but I don't have any coding friends. I can't code. And how did you get over that? Or how difficult was it to get over that element?
Oh, well, I'm not over that. I have a co-founder who is our CTO.
Yeah.
So definitely for starting a tech company, I think that is pretty fundamental, having someone who understands tech and is as committed and as kind of has as much skin in the game as you do. Because I can imagine if you were kind of hiring a CTO and someone who's kind of leaves every 3 years, it would be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Having that knowledge is really key. There's lots of ways you can meet people. So, for example, there's kind of tech meetups. There's hackathons are a really good way to meet people, as well as I think for kind of young founders starting out, applying to something like an accelerator like Wira or Entrepreneur First, which actually helps kind of match people and fund businesses, is a really good way to start.
Oh, wow, cool. In terms of just moving on a little bit, in terms of going back to actually our first encounter, which was all about buy online, pick up in store, and building efficiency. And that was 2013, I think. So you founded it in 2012, right? Qudini?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been going for a fair while. I mean, the evolution of buy online, pick up in store to virtual queue management. And I also saw on your website, you also have a sort of a proposition for luxury in terms of appointment booking as well. Mm-hmm. For people who sort of maybe don't know the area or don't understand the friction or the challenges specifically during COVID, can you just talk about the problem and then potentially how you've sort of tackled solving those problems?
Yeah, so for sure. So I guess when I was kind of when we first met, Ali, I was kind of trying to explain to people, oh, you can have customers join the queue from outside of the store, and you can message them when it's their turn. And we had a couple of retailers up kind of take on that method of the customer joining the queue by their phone, but most of them actually just letting them join the queue by a host or potentially in Europe by a kiosk, because we've been very, very wary of queuing systems and whether customers will use them and like them. But since COVID, we've just seen this kind of mass adoption amongst customers and retailers of this kind of scanning a QR code to join the queue and staying updated while you wait, as well as for click and collect, like checking in from your phone or by scanning a QR code from the car park so that you can wait in your car and get your order delivered. And then the appointment booking is kind of a little bit more mainstream. That's been going on for a while, but it's becoming bigger.
So when you drive-by pickup service is something that you guys, are there any retailers or specific ones you can talk about? Because I find that...
We've rolled out with Dick's car phone, because they were actually the first, before they even opened their stores fully, they started opening their stores just for click and collect.
Wow, okay.
So if you go to Dixon's car phone store, you can check in from your order confirmation email, and you'll get a text saying someone's looking for your order. Someone finds the order and then just drops it into the boot of your car. So you can literally kind of drive in and out of store without getting out of your car.
How and are they, do you get any sort of customer... Do you get any stats on, I don't know, the improvement on customer journey, or how do you measure the success of these initiatives?
Yeah, so I guess for click and collect, it's more about kind of loyalty and getting them to come back to your omni-channel, whether that's store or online.
Yeah.
And we've definitely seen kind of increases in loyalty and amazing feedback from customers saying, like, we'll definitely use the service again. They've tweeted about it online, for example. Some of the best ones we've seen are with the queuing and appointment booking for in-store entry or in-store services.
Yeah.
Where we've reduced some of our clients' walkouts rates by 62%.
Wow.
And that's purely just by giving kind of customers an estimate of how long they're waiting. And I always liken it to when you're waiting for a tube or a bus, and when they have the information, the wait feels a lot shorter than when you're just sitting there waiting and you don't know when the next bus or train is coming.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yeah.
So it's that, and then we've helped one retailer to increase average spend by 33%, just because of the better customer experience, and a lot of our clients are also seeing kind of a 10% store conversion increase through queuing and appointments, because they're giving better service to them, and customers are more likely to come.
And is that specifically during COVID, or was that pre-COVID?
That was pre-COVID. During COVID, it's been pretty much the same, like much higher retention. The main thing being that obviously customers have been avoiding stores, and any way you can drive them to store through appointment booking is important. And then also, if customers do come into store, making sure they feel kind of safe and confident throughout their visit so that they will come back.
Yeah.
So as a couple of really interesting stats are also with appointment booking, that one of our clients has found that 60% of customers who book an appointment have never been to the stores before.
Yeah.
So it's actually acquiring new customers who don't currently interact with that business. And another thing we're seeing is a massive uptake in virtual services. So retailers offering kind of remote service. So if I want to buy something online, but I'm not quite sure, the option for me is to buy it or to drop off the site. But now there's another option where it's like, okay, I can actually just click and book an appointment and speak to someone in a store or in a contact center about that product. And this has obviously been COVID's been a catalyst for this, but I think it's been required the whole time, or at least we surveyed people, and millennial and Gen Z customers were 3 times more likely than baby boomers to want virtual service. So it's definitely kind of a generational thing rather than just a COVID thing.
Yeah, I imagine too, I mean, that in my mind, there's like the Instagram generation that doesn't necessarily need to feel safe, but just wants a digital experience. But then there is a generation, of people, and myself included, that you want to feel a little bit safer when you go in, and knowing that you've got that space and that time. I think it absolutely does help that you go in and then you feel, okay, this is my time, this is my space in this environment, or in terms of booking. I'm glad you mentioned the research that you did, because I did see that on LinkedIn. Was there any other sort of key findings that you found? And was there any, I can't remember, and I apologize, was there one in the US and one in the UK, or did I ever got that wrong?
Yes, that's correct. So we did a 2,000 consumer survey just as lockdown had started, asking people kind of which stores they had been avoiding, how they felt about click and collect, and also how they felt about virtual service with retailers.
Yeah.
And the main thing was that the more customers need a store, the more they wanted virtual service from it. So like even grocery retailers, a high proportion of customers wanted virtual service from it.
Yeah.
So basically on average, I think it was about 56 or 60% of people wanted virtual service from all these different types of retailers. And we broke it down by different categories.
Yeah.
The other thing was that 56% of people plan to use click and collect more.
Yeah.
So even kind of amongst the baby boomers, where only kind of 7% will use it frequently outside of COVID.
Right.
About 56% were saying that they would be more likely to use it during COVID. And also just the different types of stores that people were finding it harder to avoid was very interesting. So obviously grocery stores, people finding it harder to avoid, but banks, people finding it very easy to avoid.
Yeah.
Mum, children and toy retailers, really, really important to the customers that use them, and they found them hard to avoid them, which I thought was very interesting as well.
Yeah, I know our little toy shop in Turnham Green has a queuing system, which I don't know if it's yours, but I know they have a queuing system. And have you expanded into the US now? Is Cudini stateside as well, or are you predominantly UK based?
Yeah, so we have actually. So we're working with a number of retailers across their US stores, because we're working now with a lot of kind of big global brands. So we have the system hosted and translated into all sorts of different parts of the world, like Korea, Japan, all over Europe as well. So that's very exciting.
And let's just bring it back into, again, in terms of the journey that you have gone on as a person. So how do you feel now, almost 10 years down the line, and the next 10 years or 5 years? Where would you like to be?
Well, I guess I'm probably only really thinking kind of 2 years ahead every year, every couple of years. You always kind of have like your big kind of 2 to 3 year growth plan.
Yeah.
And we've got some pretty ambitious targets to meet based on kind of how well things have gone because of COVID, and how much our technology has been adopted. So we're really just hoping to grow it from there. And our main goal right now is to grow more internationally, but also to convert all the UK retailers who are now starting to understand what virtual queuing is and how it's beneficial to them.
Yeah. I've noticed that you obviously are focused on luxury. How does luxury play into the Qudini world?
Yeah, so luxury has become bigger and bigger over the last year even. We started working with ICOS stores internationally a few years ago. So they were getting really, really high traffic of customers all over the world coming in to buy their kind of heated tobacco devices. And we've just seen, and because you've got kind of premium stores where people want to have a premium waiting experience. And if there's a queue, it's really not attractive. And also people want to be able to book time. They're going to spend a lot of money. So they want to be able to have more detailed service. So we're just seeing more and more uptake of that with retailers that we're working with internationally.
Yeah, I noticed, I don't know how long back, but the word choreography started to appear next to in terms of retail choreography. What does that mean? Can you expand on what's your interpretation, or how's that being interpreted?
Yeah, so retail choreography is this kind of category concept we created to better explain what it is that we do, because we built the queuing system and the booking system, and people kept kind of thinking we were just a queuing system. So we wanted to come up with something that kind of encapsulated what we were doing and also where we wanted to take Cudini over the coming years. And it's all about kind of connecting your experience, your operations, and your data, and holistically managing those, whether that's related to mostly around stores, but also some of your online offering. And we noticed kind of no one was yet kind of incorporating the concept of experience, operations, and data, and how retailers should be looking at those holistically and all at one. Yeah. It's kind of a framework that we've been creating, and we're starting to create a set of tools around how to use retail choreography as a concept, not just relating to Qudini initiatives, but any process or any tool that you implement across your business.
I got you. And I presume the data insights on top of the stuff that retailers traditionally used to gain, I don't know, footfall counters, infrared counters, whatever they are, that must be phenomenal. Like I don't know what percentage upgrade that they're getting on data on footfall physically coming into their stores.
Yeah, so because obviously retailers, a lot of them will have footfall and they have sales, but what is happening between the door and the till is not very well known. So we help to bridge that gap by showing things like how long customers are waiting, who's speaking to them, and how long that service is taking, what are the outcomes, what's the survey feedback, if they've booked an appointment, whereabouts in the country did they book their appointment from. So we can give retailers a lot more insight. Yeah.
If we just step away from the business and go back to your role as a CEO, this has been a really tough time for everyone, and I put my hand up for myself as well. And it feels like, when you heard about this news of work from home again, you're thinking, oh my God, are we getting ready for another lockdown? How has it been managing a team through this? Was there, how did the Cudini team manage, and were there any tips and tricks for keeping morale up during this time?
So I think one thing was that we've always been set up for virtual working because we've always been quite flexible. Yeah. Whereas I've had some friends at companies and they just weren't set up for virtual working, and that was a huge change. Yeah. But it's definitely hard to kind of keep up morale. Like, I think my biggest concern is that you don't know when someone's unhappy. That you can't just see, you can't get those visual cues that you would get in an office. So it's all about kind of just calling people. We implemented daily stand-up. So every morning, kind of our sales and marketing team will connect, and the development team will have a separate call. Yeah. And actually, we've found that we've been able to do this a lot more regularly than when we were in the office, and you've got people kind of there but not there. And as well as kind of on Monday, we do an all hands meeting on Zoom. And then on Friday, we do kind of a what did we achieve this week and drinks. And we've also started to send people kind of little gifts when we win deals, just so they kind of feel kind of loved and also rewarded for all the hard work they're doing.
Yeah.
I think the main thing for us, though, is we've just been so busy, and that's been really, really kind of motivating for everyone, although definitely tiring.
Yeah.
It's also been so exciting.
How do you, I mean, with the COVID research that you did, and just sort of looking at the generic retail market, specifically in the UK, well, what's your view on or what are you seeing in terms of the indications? Are we, because there's been this whole view of a bounce back, people will just go back to their behaviors, which I think happened over the summer, June, July, August. But do you have any views on, the future of, I say the future, the next 6 to 12 months, and how you think, specifically coming up to Christmas, if we maintain this trajectory of not full lockdown, but partial lockdown, how do you see it? Do you have a view?
Well, I can talk about how some of our clients are seeing it, which has kind of informed the way that I see it, is that I guess like a lot of businesses will be putting in these new systems and processes to manage customers and to improve experience. I think kind of things like the masks and the hand sanitizers will disappear.
Yeah.
When if the pandemic ever ends. Yeah. But I think things like the processes of managing customers and some of those kind of methods should stay. And that's what some of our clients think. Like a lot of them had things like queuing and appointment booking on the roadmap already.
Yeah.
And COVID was really just a catalyst for it. I think the virtual services thing will also remain, because our research showed that is something that customers want. So that will be really interesting to see how that transforms the world. And then from a kind of working perspective, a lot of business owners are talking about whether they just have kind of go fully remote and have one day a week in the office or a base, which, to be honest, I was quite opposed to initially, but I'm coming around more and more to it just by seeing how effective people are.
Yeah.
When they don't have to travel. Obviously, kind of it reduces pollution a bit, which is great.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the stats that like premature babies had massively reduced this year.
Oh, wow, no.
Because people are just calmer and less stressed. And from my perspective, I 100% feel less stressed because you've got so many fewer kind of commitments and ways that you have to split your time, which I found very, very stressful, being like, should I go to this event or should I stay at my desk and work? What's going to be better for business?
In terms of wrapping up and closing, any other words of wisdom that you would have for female founders or female CEOs that are just thinking about starting up, or shouldn't I?
Yes, so I would say to other kind of female founders considering on their journey, like definitely do it. Like the world needs more female founders. There's some interesting research showing like that female founders are significantly less likely to raise kind of money. I think they raise like 1% of VC funding. Yeah. And one of the big issues is like that there's more male companies, there's more kind of pattern recognition in the success of male companies. So we need more female founders to build businesses and sell them and make them so that there's kind of more money being invested into female businesses. I'd say definitely kind of ask, but don't be afraid to ask people for help. Like everyone actually really does want to help out young founders, particularly female founders. And that's something really, really unique to be able to leverage when you're starting out. Please go for it, because there's more of them.
Yeah, I agree. I do believe the world needs more founders and female founders. I think parity is always a good thing to go for, and especially from an investment perspective, I think the world will be a better place. Imogen, thank you for carving some time out. I know it's hectic being a CEO and running your own team and running a business, so I really do appreciate you giving us your time, and I look forward to seeing the growth of Qudini.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's been great to speak to you. Thank you.
Cheers.
The Retail Podcast. a global conversation hosted by Alex Rezvan Viennet.